Everyone in the world has had that strange moment when, without even realizing it, you fall in love and become enchanted by someone. Oftentimes, you don't even know. These individuals seduce everyone around them without any exceptions, using only their natural charm, which cannot be replaced by anything. They're called yokai, and they're monsters. While they pose almost no problems, humans still take advantage of their position to such an extent that it begs the question. Of all the monsters that exist, one of the most powerful has been discovered. Its name is Changsanbeom, and the beast is widely known. The half-lion possesses supernatural powers and speed that no one has been able to defeat in recent times, and since the very beginning of his existence. A man can control someone who does not want to obey by skillfully working with his consciousness, which plays with others to his advantage. In addition to all his other unique attributes, the young man possesses an uncanny ability to imitate anyone's voice almost exactly. No one can tell the difference. What's more, the monster can transform into anyone he wants. He does it so skillfully that everyone believes him, just like with his voice. The rest is more of a gift to the one who touches it. But as soon as you touch his aura, supernatural things begin to happen to the person that defy logic. One of the most wonderful side effects is the softness of your hair. It feels silky to the touch, like flowing, gushing water. The skin becomes clear and transparent, like snow in January. All six senses are refined, helping you take control of your destiny, which you can now change. All of this isn't even the worst part. This monster has too many good abilities, each unique, but that's nothing compared to what it can do. As soon as a guy's beautiful eyes meet, a girl's heart is stolen. He leaves no chance of escaping the love that follows him. The allure of insane power is dangerous. The wolf seduces people on an instinctive level he can't control and then devours them, savoring every bite. A girl with rose-blonde hair laughs. Her name is Hong Ari, and she's the best insider at Changsan High School. She's currently reading a story and laughing because it sounds like a funny story. They say someone went missing in Changsan recently. The girl sighs, feigning disappointment. Most likely it's some kind of prank by Changsabom, who's out on another hunt. The brunette standing nearby pauses, then blurts out a strange thought that had been lingering in her mind. By most accounts, the man seems quite attractive. The young man is said to be able to imitate the voices of anyone he chooses in order to lure the desired victim. He can also perfectly copy faces, which seems beautiful. Friends chatter dreamily about how they'd love to just once fall under the spell of a guy they've never met. If they were in his shoes, they'd do everything possible. Ari wanted to agree, but the dark-haired man interrupted their conversation, placing his hand on the heroine's head. This didn't apply to her, because she had no right to discuss such things so openly. The girl is too small, so no one will even consider her a woman. A monster wouldn't be satisfied with such a small size. It would only whet his appetite. Hong Ari, hands on her hips, fumed. She's still growing and will be even taller than she is now, considering she's currently of average height in Korea. Instead of listening to the continued teasing, the girl turns towards the desks in the classroom to look at the brunette sitting somewhere in the distance. Running closer to the girl, Ari grabs Shia's neck and back and asks her what she thinks about their conversation. She's also concerned about Jang Sabom. Hong Xia is the nerdy one everyone in school knows. She's #1 on the school rankings, so she has no time for unnecessary chatter. She frowns, saying she doesn't care. Stepping back, the blonde apologized. She'd distracted her friend from her studies and the assignment that was due soon. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. The boys in the class again call their acquaintance closer. They look at the brunette mockingly, asking Ari why she's talking to that gloomy girl who clearly doesn't want to communicate. Having acquired an ability like a monster, most people want to become NCT's bed. It sounds more than a little ridiculous and strange, which is surprising, but now the girl is also among those interested. A plan of action immediately forms in the beauty's mind, and what she would do. If the maiden became Jangsanbeom, she would commit fraud every day and rake in a fortune. Another idea was to transform herself into the daughter of Samsung's CFO. She wanted status, recognition, and a greater income without having to work for it. Elon Musk could also be seduced. He was in the midst of that non-existent plan of what he could accomplish by becoming a monster. Shia dreamed of getting her hands on a few shares. The heroine dreamed of going on a cruise and traveling around the world, exploring the sights of each country, each of which was distinguished in its own way by its views and beauty. My thoughts involuntarily drifted to my younger brother, who often asked for an inhaler, saying he was suffocating and no longer had the strength. It would be good if Bull's asthma could be cured. Tal's apathetic dermatitis was also on the list. It never went away, returning over time in the same place. Her sister suffered from it. A small family of 3 would have endured everything with fortitude and survived. They would have had no fear if someone had been willing and able to protect them free of charge. Returning to reality, the brunette hears someone asking Ari why she cares so much about someone so pathetic. Her parents abandoned her and ran away. Gently placing his hand on the girl's shoulder and patting her on the back as if warning her, one of the students asks the girl not to get involved with a freak who will bring no good. The girl is too kind, so she decided to befriend the nerd. Many people think so, which is disappointing. The heroine never wanted to be an outcast. A student steps forward, warning her not to say such things about her friend. She shouldn't try to stand out simply by being unintelligent. The boys try to back away, not immediately realizing which one of them is being addressed. They look toward the girl, who looks quite belligerent. Her friend nearby laughs. The beauty forbids anyone to mention Shia's parents. Apart from their family, no one knows the true circumstances under which all this happened. It's best to simply stop talking about such things. The woman points to her friend, asking everyone to apologize to her right now. She certainly doesn't deserve this bad treatment, which only ruins everything in her life. Shia is one of Ari's family members. She has always loved her friend, whom she's known for a long time. While trying to treat her with care, she was afraid of making a mistake. Hung Ari and Hung Shia were truly inseparable. Now, watching her friend fiercely defend her friend's honor, she can't find the right words. The 2 girls are cousins, so they're considered so close. Living under the same roof, they even went to kindergarten together in the same class as children. Ari was sociable and obedient from childhood. Whenever she entered new social circles, she charmed everyone around her. People complimented her on how sweet and obedient she was, thanks to her upbringing. The girl grew up receiving all the affection from the adults around her. It was impossible not to love such a child, given how hard she tried to win everyone's sympathy and trust. Shay remained aloof, as if someone had shifted all the light from the spotlights onto Ari, who absorbed it like air. They had lived their entire lives in comparison. The blonde was the heroine's best friend, but that didn't change the fact that she envied her more than anyone else. She always wanted to be just like her friend, who had no idea. The guys, as usual, continue where they started. Everyone asks why Ari stood up for some girl who didn't need it, being the scum of society. Instead of joining in, one of the boys quietly approaches the girl from behind. He places a hand on her shoulder. Baek Gwon-do has always been the friend who remained loyal to Shia, despite their differences. Shia, a member of the Hong Ari family. This was common knowledge, but she was also the young man's best friend, and he had no intention of letting his classmates hurt her. The brunette glances sideways at her protector and savior. He appeared, as usual, at the perfect moment when everything was going wrong. Her cheeks flushed brightly. Brunette remained and always will be a friendship they've shared for 10 years. They were always together, remaining inseparable despite everything that happened. Aaron, who had been standing aside a moment ago, runs to hug Gwon-do. He looks at her wide-eyed, as if he's seeing her for the first time in his life, even if that's not entirely true. Pushing the girl aside, the brunette asks her what's going on. His expression doesn't change, despite how much she'd like to elicit some hidden emotion. I move closer again, and the blonde laughs easily. These 2 are the only friends who look at Shay without any prejudices due to her status or her reclusive lifestyle. Jumping back, the girl remembers something. Her birthday is coming up soon, so there's a party to celebrate that night. Friends are absolutely required to attend the event. Ari smiles, clutching the hands of her acquaintances. They are like the 3 musketeers, their Changsang. They are inseparable under any circumstances because they are always together. The brunette nods, smiling. She's scheduled to work part-time after school, so if she can finish a little early, she'll definitely be at the party. Unable to believe her ears, the blonde smiled even more. She was pleased that her friends cared about her and what she wanted. She turned to Gwon-do to ask what he thought. Turning away, the brunette nods. If Hong Shia goes, then he'll be the one who comes too. He can't miss his friend's birthday party, no matter what. The brunette's cheeks flushed red. This reaction was perfectly normal for the heroine, as this was her beloved man, who had long been on her list of things she absolutely loved. Abruptly changing the subject, the girl says that Chasan has been turned upside down lately due to missing persons cases. There used to be a playground somewhere there, but it no longer exists, which puts everyone in a bad mood. Someone is being sought. And even without any clues, it's easy to figure out who it is. Numerous police officers with dogs couldn't stay on the sidelines after everything that's been happening lately. A man with ears observes what's happening. He's sitting somewhere on the mountain because his view is of the entire area, including the trees that slightly obscure it. The man crosses his legs, chuckling thoughtfully. He's an interested party, and that's because this is the same Changsanbeom we were talking about just recently. It's incredibly cold outside, making your blood run cold. The brunette, throwing on a jacket, makes her way through the crowd to her destination. All attempts to warm up have failed. A day in Shay's life doesn't seem like the easiest. At dawn, the heroine works part-time as a food delivery girl. She doesn't get paid much, but it's more than enough for the job. After school, Virgo hands out flyers to passers-by on the street. Not everyone appreciates her work, so some take the opportunity to comment on her appearance and what she does. In the evenings, the woman works at a meat shop. She took a part-time job there solely to earn at least a little extra money to live on. The girl doesn't always rest at night either. She works at a 24-hour store. There was a shortage of salespeople, so the heroine naturally took the job, even though the pay was negligible for someone working nights. Nosebleeds are becoming a daily occurrence. Raising her hand and pressing it to her face, she tries to stem the flow. Sometimes she wonders why she lives this way. The heroine has her own burden to bear. Her father died long ago, and after that, her mother apparently couldn't take it anymore and simply left home to escape the hated place. All that Shia had left were her twins, a sister and brother who were still very young. They needed proper care because they couldn't be left alone in the house without any provisions. A voice from the table interrupts my thoughts. A bald man who's been sitting at the table surrounded by bottles for an hour asks for another pour. If he pays, then there are no problems at all. Forging a smile, the waitress turns away and pours a glass. She must handle all the difficulties alone, so as not to hold anyone responsible. The owner praises the woman, saying she's done a good job today, as usual. She leaves the store and cafe, heading toward the bus stop. Taking something out of her pocket, she examines it. The focus is on the white cardboard on which the heart-shaped earrings are placed. They stand out, even though they weren't particularly expensive, keeping them affordable. The brunette can't stop smiling. She just hopes Hong Ari likes the gift they bought her. For now, it was all her friend could afford. Taking out her phone, the girl quickly types out a message saying she's freed early and will be there soon. She's interrupted by a drunk man who points out that she's a student. She's probably working because she needs the money. Uncle has a lot of money, so if he wanted, he could throw in a little extra. You just have to ask him nicely, and then everything will work out. The beauty freezes, looking at her interlocutor with disgust. She hates people who lack self-control. This guy is one of them. Without thinking, the girl thrust her hand forward, hitting the man in the stomach with her palm. She didn't harm anyone, but she did buy him some time to make a quick escape. Breaking into a run, the heroine tries to escape the scene where it all happened. Her uncle seemed reluctant to let her go, so he confidently runs after her, causing her even more stress. The heroine no longer knows what to do. She's so frightened that she runs away mindlessly, ending up at Changsan, where an investigation has revealed that the area is unsafe. Nothing else mattered because Shay didn't want to fall into the trap. Somehow, as sad as it was to admit, this was the only thing that happened to her. Continuing to run, the girl doesn't even notice how she's approaching the cliff, which seems to be trying to pull her into its embrace. Her glasses fly off her nose and she plummets off the cliff. As she plummets, the girl can only think about how much she wanted to go to her friend's birthday party. She wanted to have fun there and really pull her ears. Memories of how it all happened still linger in her mind. Sharing a hobby with friends was something she really wanted to do every day. Life, which used to seem like a real fairy tale despite how much the maiden had previously disliked it, always wanting something better. Tears naturally gather somewhere in the corners of her eyes. It seems to the girl that nothing can help her anymore, no matter how much she wants or desires it. It's too late to think about anything, so the woman simply relaxes. As she hits the surface, the heroine lets out a pitiful cry. It seems the fall was worse than expected. There were some positives, because Shay survived. She thought that falling from such a height had immediately sealed a future she no longer had. But that wasn't true. Without her glasses, she couldn't see anything, which made the girl nervous. Her hands fumbled along the ground, realizing that for some reason, whenever she touched the surface, she felt only something incredibly soft. Raising her head, the girl tries to look around, even though her vision is incredibly deceiving at this very moment. She wants to forget about this, simply erase it from her memory. The heroine recoils as she collides face-on with something enormous. A huge beast with glowing eyes. That's what she's about to see right up close, leaving her speechless. Shia sits on the tip of Changsabom's tail. He proved to be the cushion that saved the girl from breaking every bone in her body. The brunette freezes in horror. She's never experienced anything like this before, so she's unsure how to react. Perhaps it would be best to simply run away and hide. Without giving him a moment to think, the monster growls menacingly. Raising one of its oversized paws, it prepares to strike the arriving man, who falls headfirst. The brunette, hopeless, screams, begging the beast to stop. She feels like this is the end for her, but the outcome is as good as it gets, because the tiger freezes, staring at her in surprise. After a few seconds, the baby makes another attempt to attack its prey. It flaps its paws menacingly, hoping to hit the intruder. The man transforms as soon as he's ordered to stop for the second time. His beautiful white hair flutters behind him. One winter day, a third-grade girl named Shay found a small kitten on the street. After bringing it to the cave, she found a book on training and set to work. The baby, surprisingly, was quite calm and followed all the commands given to him, regardless of the complexity. After another correctly executed command, the brunette came closer and patted the animal on the head, telling him what a great boy he was for doing everything right. The little animal's behavior didn't upset the heroine too much, but sometimes he behaved extremely aggressively, which forced the little girl to leave him completely alone, not hoping to meet him again. Now a familiar face appeared before the maiden, but it was so terrible that she wanted to cry. She hadn't thought things would turn out this way for her. The short-haired girl pulls the soft blanket toward her with all her might, urging her sister to wake up and get out of bed to start a new day. It's already too late, and the girl is still asleep. She either doesn't plan on going to school or she'll be late. The sister turns and leaves, leaving the heroine completely alone in her thoughts. It feels like none of this happened, like it was just a bad dream. Tal and Belle are home, safe and sound, getting ready to play. The girl carefully feels her body, becoming more and more convinced with each passing second that something is wrong. She's also alive and well, which makes her feel joyful. Memories of the animal flash through her mind. Auntie bursts into the room, interrupting everyone's thoughts. She's outraged that her niece didn't get up at sunrise to make breakfast for everyone. The family shouldn't have to wait for her alone. The heroine adjusts her hair, tucking it behind her ear, revealing the shame she feels. Quietly apologizing, the girl turns to the wall. Shia's morning is a little different from the mornings of her typical classmates. It's worth starting with the fact that this is Ari's house, where her parents and she, along with a friend, also live. The mother abandoned her 3 children several years ago, so naturally they all fell under the care of their aunt. Even though the woman had long since severed ties with the parents, she allowed them to live in her home. Of course, all the housework fell on the older sister's shoulders. Snorting, the woman turns away, not finding the twins cute. She asks Ari if she's going to school. The aunt is a little rude, having her own ideas, but the lady is grateful to her for taking in the trio when they had absolutely nowhere to live. At least for this, the girl felt guilty and grateful, so she tried to repay by cooking, cleaning, and doing other chores around the house. As she's about to head outside, the girl is about to take her brother and sister to kindergarten, but they notice she forgot to put on her glasses. It suits her incredibly well, but it doesn't change anything. The beauty hasn't been wearing her glasses this whole time. Looking around, she tries to figure out if her vision is really better now than when she had to wear contacts. It seems overly suspicious. The heroine hesitates. Everything has changed, but somehow she now sees everything around her perfectly, even if she couldn't have hoped for anything like this. The classroom was noisy as usual. Shia pulled out her phone to look up some information about the beast she encountered yesterday. It said that Changsanbeom was a yokai with long white fur and a charming effect. Snorting, the brunette puts the thing aside. It was definitely a dream, because there's no way any yokai could be in the city center. The police would have caught the scoundrel long ago. The brunette, who had been standing behind her this whole time, leaned closer to his friend's ear. Laughing slightly, he asked if she liked the magical beast she read about online. Almost jumping to the side, the girl screams that there is nothing shameful in this, given the fact that this is an absolute untruth that cannot be changed. The heroine never seems to face the truth. There's nothing glorious or good about a yokai that corrupts the environment like a parasite. Traditionally, it was important for a man to possess physical strength to be able to protect his wife. Everyone knew this, without exception, but that was not the point at all. Looking at his acquaintance, the friend suddenly notices that she's been sitting right in front of him without her glasses this whole time. It seems she forgot them at home or there was some other reason. It's not the best excuse, but it's all she has. Her vision has improved recently, so the heroine simply decided to remove the unnecessary accessory that was only getting in the way. The man falls silent for a few minutes. He looks at the heroine, who is just a few steps away from him, and then quietly says that she is very beautiful. Shay bows her head and says nothing. Her cheeks flush red, making it clear she's simply too embarrassed to admit she likes her classmate. Ari runs up from behind, clutching her friend's back. She cheerfully asks why the girl didn't wake her up since she ended up oversleeping, and her mom had to drive her home. Quickly apologizing, the girl changes the subject. She asks about the birthday party they held yesterday, which she apparently missed out on. The beauty blinked, feigning surprise. She hadn't hosted any party, deciding it would be a waste of time and money. The woman, frozen, mumbles something quietly, asking why this happened. Her friend didn't show up for the event, so the friends simply wouldn't have anything to do with everyone else. Ari canceled everything and sent the boys back home. If it works out, she'll arrange it again today, but for that, everything needs to be coordinated. The brunette backed away, unable to believe her ears. She hadn't realized that the entire event, so long planned, had been canceled just because of her. It was incredibly hard to believe. Stopping the stream of incoherent words and apologies that kept pouring out of the heroine's mouth, the girl places her hand on the palm of her friend sitting next to her. Besides being her cousin, Virgo is also first and foremost her dearest friend, who would be difficult to replace or abandon. The girl apologizes for not paying enough attention to her sister lately, handing her a dress box. She asks for forgiveness and to accept this modest gift. Her cheeks flush again. The heroine tries to say something, but she's so surprised and embarrassed she can't string even 2 words together, which has a profound effect on her. You'll need to wear the item and attend the party that evening. It's all about the dress code, which is tailored to the Disney universe. This dress looks like one worn by princesses. Ari is confident the outfit will suit her friend perfectly. They plan to have a lot of fun today, spending time just for each other and close to each other. Now the girl feels even more ashamed. With every word she speaks, she feels as if something inside her is clenching, only to burst from the tension. The heroine feels unbearable and terrible. Her sister thinks about her, while she feels inferior because of her, making her regret ever meeting her. Nodding her head, Shay pretends everything is fine. She can't reveal her true thoughts, so she simply agrees to come over and have some fun. Leaning closer to the heroine, the blonde asks why she took off her glasses. They suited her much better when they sat perched on her nose, proclaiming her nerd status. The party is in full swing. The tables are laden with delicious treats, tempting everyone to try, and the music booms loudly from every corner of the room. The door slowly swings open, and then Hong Xia appears in the doorway. She stands in the shadows, watching the guys around her, trying to figure out who exactly she should join. As she enters, the brunette sparkles in her new dress, which seems to reflect her bright smile. She's simply happy to be there, so she greets the assembled friends and classmates. The people around her, as usual, are looking extremely unfriendly. This time, something is different, so today their looks are much stranger and more angry at the girl who hasn't even managed to do anything. The girl snorted and looked around, trying to figure out who was where. She had never felt this way before. The main character's entrance seems epic for the girl. The blonde runs out and waves, beckoning Shay closer. Her pink dress sparkles brightly against the party hostess's beautiful body. Grabbing her friend's hands, the girl examines her outfit. They're wearing matching clothes today, and that can't be a coincidence, since everything was a gift from Hong Ari. As the maiden had hoped, the dress looked great. She looked at her legs, noticing how long they were, making the outfit more flattering to everyone around her. Laughing under her breath as if it were some kind of cruel joke, the brunette bows her head. It doesn't seem like something she'd want to hear from her friend, but it's worth playing along with. The sound of conversation and laughter behind her catches Shay's attention. She turns to look around. Friends and classmates behave as usual, but this time each of them suggests comparing 2 girls who are similar even in clothes, but not in character and everything else. Hong Ari is incredibly cute, and Xia looks like an old woman who's dressed in children's clothes, which looks ridiculous. She came in confidently dressed, but now she's left with nothing. Just a character who, as usual, was on the sidelines. The heroine was the one who was constantly by Ari's side, simply to shine the light. He showered the girl with the attention she felt she deserved. It had always been this way. even starting in kindergarten. Many noticed the differences between the two friends. The blonde was considered bright and beautiful, while the brunette was always a bit gloomy. They discussed the little girl without even caring whether she would be able to hear at such a young age. There was something dark about her that obscured the good, and life would be difficult for her. The girl didn't consider herself a person because, over time, the behind-the-scenes talk had taken its toll, giving her a clear idea of her identity. She didn't try to do anything. Aries' friend remained by her side, a mere shadow, the kind that should have been with a sun-like figure. She showered her rays on everyone, forgetting no one. Shame washes over her like a wave, leaving her unable to rest or breathe. The brunette feels terribly ashamed, even if her sister was the one who gave her the outfit. It was still her responsibility. The man approaching from behind gently places his hand on her shoulder and then takes off his jacket so that it rests on the young lady's shoulders. Looking straight into his girlfriend's eyes, the guy cannot utter a word. But finding what he wanted to say, he notices the fact that Shia is always the most beautiful. Despite everything that had been happening for years, the girl had one reason why she could endure absolutely everything. A friend who had covered her ears since childhood, asking her not to listen to everything that was said. Having long found the truth, the young man always confidently said that adults are simply fools, since they do not care about the feelings of a child who is still too young for such things. The brunette had a true beauty that was hidden. She is beautiful just the way she is, even if most people don't notice it, simply because they weren't given the gift. This kind of support was something new and pleasant for the heroine, but this did not change the fact that only one of her friends thought so, because the rest did not pay attention. The girl had long since decided that such feelings couldn't be kept in her heart. They were incomprehensible, and so they greatly frightened the young woman who hadn't yet fully sorted out her feelings. Looking at the pictures hung on the wall, the girl smiled. The warmth growing inside seemed real, and all because the three of them were one. There was no point in separating just because you loved someone and ruining the friendship. The heroine breaks away because voices are heard from behind the door, followed by light laughter. Guando is sitting on the windowsill with Ari, telling her that she went too far with the joke this time, which wasn't important. Even if the girl herself didn't do it, everyone still knows that Hong Ari is the main character. She's always been that way, despite the circumstances that have caused everyone inconvenience. Hong Xia is just an extra, making the main character shine. These words strike right to the heart, causing the beauty to freeze in place, her mouth hanging open in surprise. Virgo is the #1 student in the entire school, but no matter how hard she studies, no one will be able to love someone as gloomy as she is. You'd have to be sick to do that. Ultimately, it's Ari who receives the love. Guan acknowledges this, as it was in his voice that the words were spoken. She should be grateful she wasn't born with such an ugly face, even though her friends are related. Everything is not as it seems at first glance. The heroine can't believe what she's hearing, so she tries to convince herself until the very end that it's just a misunderstanding and not true. A gentle breeze causes the curtains to flutter, revealing two people sitting on the windowsill. They approach each other, smiling softly, and then embrace in a sweet kiss. The brunette no longer has any feelings left. Her eyes become glassy and water collects in them, ready to run down her cheeks. Hysteria is just around the corner. The girl clutched her heart in her chest, cringing. The terrible pain had come on so suddenly, making it clear that she was truly hurt by what had been said, even if she didn't want to admit it. Chang Sanbaum, sitting in the cave as usual about to leave the area, also clutches his chest. He cringes and growls, telling himself how fed up he is with these out-of-nowhere attacks. The girl runs through the streets at the speed of light, hoping to get to her room and forget. In the end, all the shared memories from childhood turned out to be lies. Memories and moments belonged to only 2, instead of 3. The girl was treated as someone extra, preferring to remain ignorant of the words spoken behind her back and the actions taken. Perhaps if the heroine were a little better, more beautiful and brighter, she too could be loved simply for the fact that she exists and is a good person with such qualities. The glass shatters, and the loud noise that echoes throughout the area is literally deafening. A half-animal, half-human figure appears before the girl and jumps to the floor nearby. The blonde man leans carefully over the heroine's face. He peers into her eyes, realizing that all he sees there is pain and tears rolling down her cheeks. She didn't want any of this. Unable to back away, the brunette sighed. Everything that happened yesterday wasn't a dream she'd imagined after waking up. The man really did exist, Instead of saying anything, the young man again clutches his heart, which is beating at the speed of light, giving him no peace. Approaching the heroine, the blonde man asks her not to cry. When she's sad, his heart breaks too, as if dependent on Shay, who's feeling ill. Trying to calm herself, the brunette adjusted her voice so as not to stutter every other word. She can't figure out what exactly this means. Virgo doesn't retreat, but lightning flashes around her, forcing her to press even closer. It's happened, and now the inevitable has become reality. The man backs away, but the aura has already emerged. As the book said, once a person touches the beast's magic, supernatural events that cannot be explained will begin to happen to them. Hair becomes soft, like silk you just have to touch. Skin becomes clear and translucent, and the other 6 senses are instantly enhanced. This is all the work of none other than Changsabum. The girl is transported to some other place, and due to the strong jump, she is unable to stay on her feet. So immediately after that, she falls to the ground. Jumping up from the ground, the Virgo feels anger. Something bad could happen to a person if they were simply thrown to the ground. Falling silent, the heroine looks around. Kneeling, she feels the cold ground beneath her feet, reminiscent of the forest floor. She only has to ask where they are. Shouting, the brunette addresses the very man who is just 2 steps away from her. She doesn't understand where he's taken her. The man mutters something under his breath. It seems he's again blaming the heroine for doing something wrong, since he's now sealed away. Anger turns out to be something better left unseen. The guy switches to a growl that makes his veins clench along with the rest of his organs. Trying to ask the respected man to stop, the maiden suffers a massive attack. He screams, asking what her true face is. Her eyes light up with a dangerous fire. Screaming, the girl crawls to the side, trying to cover herself with her hands from the light that hits her face, not even allowing her to open her eyes to see everything. Because of the girl, the guy was again stuck in the unbearable human world for 10 years, without any right to choose, which simply did not remain. Shouting again, the brunette orders the animal to stop. She doesn't want to listen to more accusations, so this is all she can do. Noticing that the monster is obeying, the brunette screams at him to move away from her, causing the blonde to be thrown somewhere to the side. As the girl had expected, the order was quickly carried out, despite the fact that she was seeing this boy for the first time. He had no right to control. Everything worked out exactly as the situation demanded. The boy hit a stone wall, which began to crack. Rising from the ground, the girl turns to flee. She must use the time she has to save her life and soul, but a voice stops her. Now the girl cannot leave Changsabom, because if she decides to run away now, it will not end well, and she will simply die. This scenario doesn't suit the heroine. She frowns at what she's just heard, completely against her will. The delirium doesn't seem real, because at the moment, the greatest danger to the maiden is the hero sitting next to her. She orders him not to come closer, but to stay put. Without listening to any more objections that could stop the heroine, she turns around and quickly runs away, leaving the young man completely alone. The guy chuckled softly, slowly exhaling the cold air from his lungs. Perhaps he simply missed his chance now because it would have been easier to eat the unnecessary witness. Everything that happened was real. The girl couldn't believe that everything she saw that day was right on her heels, becoming reality. Rushing along the path, the girl closes her eyes in order to drive away the very image that has firmly lodged itself in her head, preventing her from concentrating on anything else. First of all, the heroine is going to rest and then think again, but her aunt stops her right at the gate. She frowns angrily, asking where her niece has been all this time, without even saying anything beforehand. Most likely, the woman was angry because the lady, without saying anything, arrived only in the morning, leaving everyone without the explanations they deserved. Shouting, the girl asks, "Who's going to make breakfast if she doesn't take care of herself?" Which is true. Leading the lady into the kitchen, the woman gestures menacingly toward the empty table. She asks what she's doing in this house, almost shouting. The brunette bows her head and remains silent. She tries to justify herself, but all attempts are more than unsuccessful due to what's happening. Instead of an apology, a strange realization comes to mind, like lightning that suddenly struck in the middle of the day, shattering everything around. Clutching her head, the girl tries to drive away the pain that is rapidly spreading throughout her body, not allowing her to relax. The gaze itself rises forward, looking somewhere at the woman, who continues to drill her niece with a look that shines cruelly. The brunette clutches her mouth, trying to contain herself. Her senses are dulled, because now she feels as if she's about to vomit or throw up. Turning around, the girl quickly runs away to get to the bathroom. Something strange is happening to her. so she no longer even notices what they're shouting after her. The morning began as usual. Perhaps everything that happened was also due to the improved vision that came completely unexpectedly. Guan smiles and greets her friend as she arrives. Ari, sitting on the table next to her friend who is holding her hand, begs Shia to quickly save her from what's happening. Now everything has changed, just like the perception of the girl who could distinguish between lies and truth. Now the two seemed like a separate entity, floating somewhere to the side, not even intending to join the girl again. The heroine thought they were friends and therefore won, but she was sorely mistaken, constantly remaining blind to what she was told. She simply didn't exist in the world of Ari and Guando. Smiling, her friend turns to the girl, interrupting her thoughts. She asks if she'll join them for tteokbokki after school, as this isn't the first time they've tried to get together. The brunette knows everything, but she is simply going to let the situation go and pretend as if absolutely nothing happened just to maintain the friendship and not be left guilty. Even if these two had not been there, the girl would have been left completely alone, which of course also did not suit her. Running up to her friend, the blonde asks why she suddenly disappeared from last night's party. She had arrived, but at some point, she simply vanished. Virgo smiled a nasty smile. They said there were a lot of guys who thought Shay was beautiful yesterday, so maybe she ran off with one of them. The aura that had gathered outside was strange and viscous. The nausea crept up again. Arriving at the teacher's office, the girl asks to go home. She's not feeling well, so she wants to at least get home. Virgo had never been so ill that she had to stay home. It felt as if her legs had turned to jelly, as if her body was about to collapse. The man smiles and laughs, which is odd in this situation. The student doesn't respect the teacher. The brunette blinked, frozen. She expected to hear everything possible, but not what had just been said. Today, the girl wants to leave early, but there are already 4 other people who have asked for time off. There's a celebrity concert today that she'd like to attend. School is no joke, so if you want a scholarship, you have to pay attention to attendance. Again, the aura that suffocates from within spreads throughout the room. The girl backs away, forcing herself to pull herself together and calm down. Running out into the hallway, the heroine rushes toward the exit, hoping she won't get any worse. She interrupts the teacher, who hasn't even finished speaking. At this rate, a letter of recommendation is definitely not in sight, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to accept the present as it is. The girl's life is more like a ditch, and the fact that a yokai appeared in such a place is proof of that. Friends abandoned and betrayed her, but now something strange is happening to her body. Before she could think of anything else, the heroine's arm was grabbed. Guando, standing at the exit, asked if his friend was okay. First of all, you need to go to the medical center, as required by all the rules, in order to get home safely. Without letting the guy finish his words, Hong Ari rushes forward, grabbing her friend and quietly asking if she is okay or if she needs any help. Without even giving her a few minutes to answer questions, Du grabs the girl's hand, asking her to lean on him to get to the medical center. Yelling at Bayek Guando, Ari orders him to shut up before he gets hit in the head. She asks her friend to lean on her so she can get her to treatment. The situation seems to become ambiguous because the 2 young men are pulling the girl towards each other with great force, which allows them to do so. As luck would have it, memories of the words that were spoken keep popping up in my head. It was said that the virgin should be grateful she wasn't born with an ugly face like the brunette's. The words were forever imprinted in her mind, haunting her. Looking away, the girl orders her to let go so she can go where she needs to go. The girl is perfectly fine, which means they should listen to her and do as she asks. She nudges Hong Ari slightly with her shoulder, hoping everyone will leave her alone. The girl smiles discreetly before doing what she planned. She stumbles back and plummets to the floor. Finding herself on the ground, the blonde looks around. She remains silent, not intending to say anything about what her friend had done. Trying to apologize, Shay is interrupted. She hadn't realized her friend was so reluctant to be contacted. Du quickly approaches to lift her off the ground. People around, appearing out of nowhere, begin to whisper about the fact that the girl is sitting on the neck of Ari's family, and at the same time does not feel any gratitude towards this. The day had been too strange, and the girl couldn't deny it. Every time everything had gone wrong, remaining hell. But today, especially, something irreparable had happened. It seemed as if everyone was enchanted by the ghost. This brought incredible inconvenience to the girl's life, who didn't want things to end badly. Exactly like this. This time the trick won't work, so the lady isn't going to be lenient just because she's afraid of losing friends. Standing next to and returning above Hong Ari, the maiden forces her to stop. She asks her to stop before her actions lead her into a hole from which there is no escape. Shay's eyes flash, turning blue for just a few seconds. She looks angry and quite convincing. The girl sees everything inside her friend that's not shown to others. She's a disgusting, arrogant brat who doesn't care about others. Changsabom's soul transfer went more than successfully, despite the fact that he now has to remain in the body of a high school girl just to help her get things right. The people around them begin to mutter among themselves once again, throwing around phrases of contempt that echo throughout the room. Shia lives in Ari's house and dares to say such things. As expected, the animal could not be raised because her parents abandoned her to her fate, forcing her to remain completely alone. Chuckling and smiling, Chung Sunbeom notes that the humans haven't changed one bit. Years have passed, yet everything remains exactly the same. The human race can satisfy its sense of superiority with a vanity that remains real only to a few in the highest circles. Not quite understanding what's happening, her classmates back away to avoid being hit. A bright bolt of lightning descends behind the girl, illuminating everything around her. The girl steps forward and asks the questions that most people are interested in. She wants to know where the lightning came from, which seemed to appear out of nowhere. Hugging Guando, Hong Ari expresses her fear. Centuries have passed, but people have still managed to improve without achieving the perfection they spoke of. Turning towards the exit, Chung Sanbeom heads out into the street, calling those remaining in the corridor pathetic creatures who are incapable of anything. Modern society has definitely collapsed. The place's development stopped during the Joseon era. What was happening in the corridors was eerily reminiscent of what had previously taken place in the Korean state, which was not the best idea. Not wanting to just silently watch what was happening, the girl walked up to grab the brunette by the hand with which she was holding the other by the collar. Looking at her with a murderous gaze, Chang Sanbeom doesn't say what exactly he wants. So he simply turns the girl's hand to make her scream. Everyone here is a bunch of wealthy kids who only believe in themselves and treat people like insects, not paying any attention to them. The girls run up to Yeonjin, hugging her and asking if her friend is okay. Whoever did this was definitely crazy to do something like that within the school walls. As she's about to strike the beauty, the attacker is defeated. It's never a good idea to aim at someone with significantly more strength, so the brunette simply throws her body over her shoulder. The girl falls to the floor with a crash, sprawling right in front of Shay, who looks down. She no longer screams, but she feels pain. Actors in masks trying to please rich kids are perhaps one of the most common phenomena, even in the modern world. About to say something else, the heroine was interrupted by a magazine flying at her head. Calling the girl as someone without parents, the teacher shouted something. The parents of the student who was hit are district counselors, so she needs to be protected. The boy asks what's going on here. Those without families can't interact with normal people. The girl receives a school scholarship, but she hasn't learned her lesson at all. She's supposed to be quiet and convenient for everyone else. Virgo brings nothing but trouble. But not one to let anyone throw mud at her any further, she thrusts her fist forward and slams it on the magazine, smiles as he looks at his ideal job. He enjoys teaching people how to be smart, so they don't think they can do whatever they want. The teacher looks at the magazine he has in his hands, or rather, 2 magazines, because it was torn into 2 equal parts. Without caring about the feelings of others, the maiden says that there are also self-serving officials who do nothing but watch over the poor peasants. The water at the top must be clean. Then it will be clean below. But nothing can be done if the water at the top rots, leaving a trace on those below. By shouting that he's a teacher, the man is trying to force everyone to respect him. But it doesn't work that way. If someone is younger and weaker, you can't look down on them. Such vanity, driven by the possession of privilege, is simply shameful to witness. Since ancient times, a person has been called a teacher who guides others along the right path. What they see now doesn't fit the definition of a teacher. There's no desire to be in the same room with such people. For some reason, people from the same low class are forcibly dividing each other by status. They are all absurdly funny in their attempts to achieve the impossible. The brunette jumps out of bed. Her eyes snap open, bursting into a scream that fills the room. The horror was as real as if it were real. Looking around her familiar room, the maiden sighed. It seemed this was just another nightmare, which forced the beauty to realize that this couldn't go on. The twins appear in front of their sister, already fully dressed, standing with backpacks on their shoulders, ready to go to the children's group. Before she could ask why, the girl was interrupted. Hong Byul had been making a fuss since early morning, which was why his sister had woken up early. He was saying he wanted the exact same show as yesterday. Standing up and sitting up on the mattress, the brunette quietly asks, "What are the twins talking about?" She doesn't remember anything, so she doesn't understand. The boy flapped his arms, making gestures as if he'd just learned to fly. It's both cute and strange. That's why he got ready for kindergarten on his own today. Getting ready, the girl goes down to the kitchen and begins to set out the plates that should be ready for breakfast. For some reason, the aunt who had just appeared next to me began to move the spoons, looking sullenly, thereby helping, which is completely out of character. By raising the spoon, the girl wants to say that she can do anything herself, but the reaction seems terrifying. The woman backs away, covering herself with her hands. The brunette froze, blinking in surprise. It didn't seem real because nothing like this had ever happened before. A strange feeling haunted the girl from early morning until midday. She arrived at school, but everyone around her was only whispering, not saying what had happened. Everyone suddenly acts as if something happened yesterday and it was something special. Something that could not be replaced under any circumstances. A voice appears in her head, speaking rudely to the heroine. He asks how she liked his gift, which she probably did. The man shed a ray of light on the girl's miserable life. Memories that had been lost until now flash through her mind. The girl flies through the air, taking her brother and sister with her, who are laughing joyfully. The next scene shows a shift change at the store. The heroine grabs the collar of the man who, as usual, treated her like trash and shakes him with all her might. At home, everything followed exactly the same scenario. After yet another remark, the girl overturned the table with food, screaming about how tired she was of being a servant. The memories reveal the worst part because the teacher was there too. The man asks if he's doing well, to which the girl chuckles. She approaches the office where the notice is posted. Chang Sun-beom threw the girl off the cliff into a pit because the paperwork stated that she would no longer receive her stipend. Afterwards, she was told she was fired from her job, and insults and pictures were drawn on her desk. To top it all off, her aunt kicked the family out of the house. The girl is in despair. This is what she feared so much. She never wanted to be hated simply for existing. If we imagine the girl's life in Webtoon, she's an extra, always on the sidelines while Eri is the main character. She notices her friend, surrounded by classmates, asking if she's okay. The blonde turns to the side, noticing the brunette who calls the beauty by name, hoping to attract her attention. Seeing her acquaintance turn away to avoid the conversation, the girl decides to take drastic measures. Grabbing the girl's hand, she asks her to forgive her, as the cold pills had left her feeling out of sorts. The extra's efforts to strain his body were thwarted. The blonde abruptly twisted her arm, throwing the girl aside, away from her. Eri quickly apologized and asked for everything to be okay. They would definitely talk later, but right now she was a little scared, and she couldn't blame herself for that. Nothing can be changed, so the beauty goes back to her friends, who are already ready to pity her, because she had a very difficult time. Eri is too kind a soul to hold back after everything that's happened to her. Asking them to ignore the shameless woman standing right behind them, the boys snort. In reality, there's no escape like there is on Webtoon. No one will come to your aid simply because you call out and need someone to listen. Deciding to leave her friend alone with her thoughts and her classmates, the girl heads to the teacher's lounge. Kneeling, she begs forgiveness for her earlier behavior. The girl needs to get a scholarship at all costs because she has always been a great help along with her part-time jobs. The girl shouldn't have to forget what she said to the teacher's face yesterday. She embarrassed him, but the excuse remains the same. She was under the influence of the drugs that had such a negative effect on her. If she doesn't get a scholarship, the younger ones will be left completely alone with no money. The man knows the student's situation. The girl is indeed in a difficult situation, but that is precisely why the man has been coddling her for so long all this time, ignoring her antics. If she follows the words spoken yesterday, then now the teacher will guide her on the right path, as befits an exemplary servant of education. Throwing the girl out the door, leaving her in complete silence, the guy finally asks her to understand his point of view, because this is all for the sake of her upbringing, which needs to be improved for the better. The voice in my head is ringing in my ears again, like thunder. A teacher can't be such a lowlife who doesn't care what he does and what he shouldn't do. Arriving at the house, which until recently was her permanent residence, the girl presses the intercom button, to which a voice tells her to stop pressing the button. The conditions become more severe because if she presses the button even once more, the police will be called and will arrive immediately. The girl begs them to let her back in and admits her guilt. The woman is unwavering, as she should have thought before tipping over a table. She spent so much time feeding them and putting them to bed, and this is precisely what they repaid her with. The brother gently tugs at his sister's sweater. The twins look into their sister's eyes and ask where they're going to spend the night. It's hard to believe they were simply kicked out of the house. Turning back to the intercom, the girl tries to understand. She's truly sorry that such a misunderstanding occurred. The response is an even louder scream, deafening from miles away. A woman doesn't need stray children in the same room with her. The heroine lost absolutely everything, and it all happened in a single day. Her friends had turned their backs on her, she had no money for food or lodging, and her family had ceased to exist. It wasn't her fault, but no one wanted to believe such fairy tales. Feeling despair is a normal state, given everything that's happened. The voice in her head asks again how she managed to live all this time when the people around her were so pathetic. A girl must know how to let go of what was before, even if it's not that important. Unable to bear the conversation any longer, the maiden orders the animal to emerge from the shadows of the foliage and show its face. The river, which flows in gentle waves down the slopes, slowly begins to acquire a blue hue, which pleasantly cools the space and the skin. Chung Sanbom appears in front of the girl, and before he can say anything, he immediately receives a slap in the face, which is obviously supposed to teach him something for the future. The indignant voice doesn't understand why he got punched in the face. It's not very grateful to treat someone who provided great help when it was needed that way. The blonde man tilts his head back, trying to concentrate on what's being said. According to his interlocutor, he clearly has no idea what the word means in general. As the girl begins to scream, she realizes she can't control herself or her impulses. Changsabom's actions have led to irreversible consequences that can no longer be undone. Unwilling to listen any longer, the man decided to intervene as well. The maiden's situation was making him sick, so he simply decided to intervene to save such a worthless creature. After living one day in the heroine's body, the boy realized she was a mere nothing among others just like her. It was the most disgusting day of his life, even though he'd been living for a very, very long time. The girl doesn't deny that she's a complete loser, but compared to her, the man is a terrifying monster. He doesn't even have a decent house, so he lives in the mountains trying to hide away from everyone else. The monster lives completely alone because he has no friends or family to help him in times of need. In reality, the man is simply a lonely loser. He shrugs off betrayal, so he pretends everything is fine, comforting himself. The boy doesn't live in the mountains, hiding from everyone. It's a simple denial, and it makes sense, because Changsan is him, and he is Changsan. They are one, given the fact that the boy has always been alone, so he's not entirely lonely. Everything the maiden said was actually about herself, because she's that same loser who has absolutely nothing left, no matter how much she wants to change that. The only difference is that she doesn't live in the mountains. Tears stream down my cheeks and then fall onto the cold ground, almost melting the surface with their bitterness. It's true, so there's no point in denying it anymore. Rubbing her eyes, the heroine suddenly smiles a strange smile. Compared to her, the man is even lower than the bottom, from which it's almost impossible to escape without help. The boy backs away, quietly asking what she means. It's very simple after all. The animal obeys the orders of the girl he just insulted. Grinning, the heroine looks her interlocutor straight in the eye with a crazed gaze. Now she feels a certain power bestowed upon her, even if it's not that simple. She forces the man to kneel. He doesn't have the strength to resist, so the blonde falls to the ground, muttering something angrily about people and how disgusting they are. For some reason, the maiden hadn't considered what she could do even earlier. The young man was completely subservient, meaning she could use him however she wanted, regardless of her desires. Raising her leg, the woman places it on the man's shoulder. A spark of retribution gleams in her eyes for what is happening to her because of him. Now everything will be much better, because a brilliant idea has occurred to her. Changsan Beom will be the salvation for the young student, exactly as she dreamed it would be. The boy stands up to ask again what exactly the new mistress means. He can bring at least a drop of happiness and benefit into the heroine's life. Easy happiness brings even greater misery. This is a rule that it's high time to remember and use to your advantage. The girl doesn't need anyone's help because she can do everything herself. Changsan Beom, in turn, depends on Changsan, so there's nothing good about it. He'll be in trouble if he disappears. The man is too pathetic because he can't even exist on his own. Needing someone to help him? The monster is even more pathetic and insignificant than he even suspects. The boy was unable to even touch his mistress with a finger, so he unquestioningly obeyed the order that was given after what he had done. Leaping forward, the hero, outraged by such behavior, shouts something about how the girl will deeply regret this. so it's worth changing your mind on this matter. The Virgin bends over the animal. She looks into its eyes, hoping to see fear or resentment there. But all that's visible is anger, a feeling that makes her want to kill the man. Chang Sanbeom will be sent back to the cave, but this time the conditions will be slightly different. He will be unable to leave the confines of his prison because no one in this world needs his help. No one needs help from such a vile monster as him. The heroine's patience has run out, so she orders the man to leave as quickly as possible, pointing her finger at the mountain. The guy looks at his mistress in surprise, slowly but immediately realizing that he is starting to move towards that very place, which means that a collision awaits him very soon. A few seconds later, the man is thrown to the side and hits a rock with a loud, uncontrollable scream. The heroine looks pleased with her work. Shay is ready to solve her problems herself because she knows she can do it like no one else. She comes to the house and rings the intercom. The screaming on the other side fills my ears again. My aunt promised to call the police, but they didn't listen. Smiling, the girl says she knows the whole truth, that my father signed a contract regarding this house. Because her father had passed away, the house was now supposed to be inherited, but since she was a minor, it belonged to her legal guardians, her aunt and uncle. Every last detail was known. Everything went as planned, but there is a problem. The girl turns 20 this year, which means she becomes an adult and the legal owner of the house. There was a way to solve all the problems, but it was simply difficult to find. Diva didn't want to file a lawsuit, a complaint, or anything like that, so she just wanted to live peacefully with Tal and Boel. The woman wants to continue living in the same house they've been living in up until now, without any problems. She orders the doors to be opened before things get into an irreparable mess. The door opens and the aunt comes out. She calls the girl every name imaginable, trying to humiliate and insult her. That's why she was abandoned, because her terrible personality wasn't needed by her parents. Knocking on the teacher's door, the brunette enters without waiting for an answer. She glances around and, seeing the teacher with her eyes, addresses him. The girl moves on, stopping right in front of the teacher's desk. The scholarship cancellation must be rescinded. It's obvious the girl is having a hard time calming down, even if everything was fair. However, she followed all the rules to get the scholarship, and it was revoked solely because of the teacher's feelings. Picking up the printed text, the girl frowned, then smiled. There's definitely something in a teacher's life that can be easily damaged, something worth thinking about and caring about. This isn't the ancient world where such radical measures were taken and never reversed. We must do everything possible to ensure that the stipend remains in place. It didn't take long to ask because the guy really did have a lot of skeletons in his closet. He took the piece of paper and then tore it into many tiny pieces, making it impossible to reconstruct. This time, the girl will get away with it, even if next time everything is completely different. If there's nothing more to say, then it's time to leave the teacher's lounge before things get worse. So young, yet already so cunning. A maiden who acquired such qualities due to a lack of proper upbringing. This was more than enough to clearly hear everything that had been said earlier. It didn't matter what would happen next, because most of the problems were behind them. The three of them, Tal and Bayul, would live in the house holding on to each other. Entering the office, the girl doesn't even have time to come to her senses. She looks at the people crowded near the door, when two of them grab her by the arms to prevent her from escaping. The boy steps forward, accusing Shay of stealing Ari's new phone. During gym class, she was the only one who stayed and said she was going to the teacher's lounge. Ari, stepping forward, begs the boys not to do this. She says her friend wasn't capable of such a thing, even if it seemed logical. The girls nearby beg the beauty to stop being so kind to others. The acquaintance even started stealing, despite everything. There's no proof, of course, that the girl is innocent, so one of her classmates grabs her bag. They decide to check the contents to make sure. The brunette steps forward, asking why someone would do something like this without asking, even if it's not entirely right. There are personal belongings there, but no one asks. As they dump the contents on the floor, people begin to discuss how old everything is. Unable to withstand the onslaught, the girl runs forward to grab her backpack. Grabbing his friend's hand, the guy forces her to stop. There's still something left unopened, so it's worth doing. They've already turned the bag inside out, but the girl herself remains. The guys surround the beauty, who fearfully asks what they plan to do with her. Confusion is visible in their eyes. The item could also be hidden under clothing. They must be crazy to do such a thing. One of them starts pulling the girl's clothes off, starting with her tie. She needs to complain, But if the incident becomes widely known, the heroine will definitely lose her scholarship this time, which is absolutely unacceptable. The button won't come undone, so the young man rips the shirt. The most wonderful thing for the young man was that despite everything he did, no one even wanted to help or say anything against him. There wasn't a single person in the room who could help the poor girl, who couldn't even call her friends. Ari, closing her eyes, pretended she couldn't see anything. The beauty remembered the reason she had so many problems she couldn't solve before, but was able to now. She didn't want to be the one everyone hated, but she became just that. Her classmates noticed the tears streaming down the girl's cheeks. Laughter echoes throughout the classrooms, allowing them to savor what they see. There's no one to help. Changsaban's way of helping wasn't entirely correct, but perhaps he really was the only person who was going to help with all sincerity. The girl did what she shouldn't have done, because her orders had worked. Now she was left completely alone, without even the slightest hope of help. Quietly asking forgiveness from the animal she locked away, the maiden prepares to receive her just desserts. A figure appears on the windowsill, its voice calling people immoral. The brunette froze, rooted to the spot. She hadn't expected anyone to help her because after she yelled at her friend, he'd been locked away but somehow returned. Standing up to his full height to demonstrate his abilities, the man chuckled. The disciples simply attributed sins that didn't exist and arbitrarily accused an innocent man who didn't deserve it. People like them were beheaded and quartered during the Cheshang dynasty for the crimes they committed, sometimes without even considering the consequences. No one ever got away with it. There was no learning at this school. No matter how much the teachers taught, it was pointless to continue. They didn't even have the patience to listen. None of the boys had ever heard of anything like this, so everyone remained aggressive. One, the bravest, threw a soda can, hoping to hit the monster and knock it down or distract it. The class rushed forward to try to hurt the man. One of the boys hit the girl with his shoulder, causing her to fall to the floor and clutch her head, which she hit. Realizing that it was painful and that Chung Sanbeom himself felt the blow, he rushes forward, grabbing his opponent's neck to throw him aside, but making the pain several times worse. The brunette flies to the side, hitting the desk and chairs directly behind him. This is no joke, and that becomes clear immediately after what just happened. The boy turns and heads to another part of the classroom. He has no clear plan, but he wants to help because it seems true that he was called. Approaching the girl, who is still sitting on the floor, the blonde bows his head. He looks at her frightened face, which expresses her emotions so genuinely. Descending closer, the monster placed his hand on the brunette's head. Unlike what she had said just recently, it didn't seem like anyone in this world needed his help. He just needed to say one word. Holding the girl closer to him, he asks her to say the word, help, so that he will finally have the right to begin what he has long wanted to do with the carefree people. Tears streamed down her cheeks again, soaking her jacket a little. The heroine was too moved by this display to do anything about it. She asks for help. The guy comes from behind, asking why the blonde man intervened so abruptly, appearing out of nowhere through the window. A person cannot even be considered as such, because he is more of an ignorant creature who does not even know what quartering is, and therefore asks a million unnecessary questions. Smiling wildly, Chang Sanbeom assures them that everything will be fine because he will now show them by personal example what this means and how exactly it should be done. Lightning flashes across the room again, the same one seen earlier near Shay when she lost her mind. Her classmates look around in fear. Someone turned off the lights without even touching the switch, making one doubt everything will be all right. The man thinks he can scare the students with his tricks. The most important member of the team orders everyone in the office to rush at the animal to catch it, preventing it from causing more harm than it already has. Just one snap of the fingers, and the next second everyone around flies apart, not having the strength to stay somewhere nearby and not fly away from the loss of balance. The guy takes off his coat, which has been covering his back and shoulders all this time. He places it on his girlfriend's head, who looks at him in surprise. Pulling the hood over his girlfriend's eyes, the young man tells her that she doesn't need to watch any further, as some scenes will be too violent for such a young girl. Snapping his fingers again, the boy summons a multitude of ropes that linger around the student's neck, while the rest are sent to other limbs. As each rope tightens around his arms and legs, it extends outward to suspend him in the air. He watches in horror as he watches what's happening to him, unable to understand what's happening. The blonde man comes closer, explaining that quartering was a punishment used during the Joseon era. The criminal's limbs and neck were individually suspended from 5 carts, and then the horses were set running. The brunette froze, slowly realizing what awaited him if he didn't apologize right then and there. He couldn't bear to even listen to what was being said. Perhaps the best option would be to simply demonstrate the effect on a student who's already prepared for everyone to watch. Just one person wouldn't be as interesting for an experiment, but it's fine to start with. Tears welled up in the young man's eyes, seemingly unable to bear what was being done to him any longer. He called Jang Sun-beom a monster who couldn't control himself, trying to assert himself at the expense of others. The blonde glares menacingly at the young man who refuses to calm down. To put it bluntly, the monsters in his eyes are those around him. Classmates bullied one and attacked him as a group, no matter how much the girl begged them not to. They didn't care, as if it had lost all meaning. The man hangs in midair, already prepared for what could soon await him if nothing changes for the better. It will be the end of everything. Not wanting this to end, the boy practically begs for forgiveness on his knees. He was someone he shouldn't have been, and he mistreated the heroine unjustly. He begs to be saved from such a fate, ordering everyone to kneel. The blonde glances around at the students who stand with their heads bowed, trying to save their friend. He's not sure they all regret what they did, but at least it's something. The blonde grinned, delighted by the wonderful sight. There's no denying the pleasure one gets from seeing enemies admit their mistakes. The girl, standing to the side, like the only person who had done nothing, doesn't even have time to come to her senses when a hand reaches out towards her. They're about to drag her away. Grabbing the beauty in his arms, the man jumps out onto the windowsill, the same place he came from not long ago. Without a backward glance at those who had done such a terrible thing there, he prepares to disappear from sight. Shifting his arm to hold Shay more securely, the blonde asks from the window, landing on the ground. From here, all that's left is to run wherever my eyes lead me. The teacher enters the room, announcing that the break is finally over, which means that everyone can disperse and take their seats in order to begin the lesson she has come to teach. 3 young men are kneeling, their hands and mouths bound, their hands and mouths immobilized by the knots so they can't even rise. Their faces reflect utter regret at the situation. They've simply watched the video, so now they're repeating everything the actors did. The girl orders everyone to crawl and go to the teacher's lounge. The tears flow even more loudly. The guy rushes into the main character's house, lowering her to the floor, doing everything as carefully as possible so as not to hurt anything. He's worried about what they'll say to him now. Walking away, the young man surveys the room. Items belonging to either the girl or her siblings are scattered everywhere. This place, or something similar, is what people usually call home. The girl had ordered the boy to stay in the cave, so now, screaming, she asked him why he had gone all the way to this level. A stream of red fluid gushed from his nose and didn't stop. The man held out his hand and examined it, only shrugging. It wasn't anything special, as it was punishment for disobeying an order given to him. The hero quietly asks if the girl is okay, interrupting the hand that reaches for her cheek. She refuses to listen to an explanation. The yokai is to blame for everything, because if it hadn't manifested in her life, things would have been much simpler and calmer. The beauty is furious at the man who merely came to save her, which proves she's unbearable. He has no time to come except when Shay cries for help and sobs loudly, begging for it. Even now, it's her mouth that speaks, not her heart.